So where did this narrative come from? The toxicness story of masculinity. You said to find the beginnings of where it comes from in culture, so you can, in essence, confront it. What was your study find there?
There's a couple important turning points, but it starts much earlier than most people think. Mm-hmm. I thought, third wave feminism, 1960s.
Yeah. Okay.
But actually, it's much earlier. It starts with the Industrial Revolution. Okay. Because before that time, men worked alongside their wives and children all day on the family farm, the family business, the family industry. And so the social expectations on men focused much more on their caretaking role. You had to be patient and kind to your wife and children because you're working together all day. And even a secular historian put it this way. He said the colonial definition of masculine virtue was duty to God and man. I love it.
Yeah.
And so how did we lose that notion of masculine virtue? The Industrial Revolution took work out of the home. Of course, men had to follow their work out of the home into factories and offices. And for the first time in American history, men were not working alongside people that they loved and had a moral bond with, the family members. Instead, they were working as individuals in competition with other men. And it's a very different work environment.
Yeah.
And that's when you see the literature start to change.
Yeah.
Already in the 19th century, you saw people begin to protest that men were losing that caretaking ethos and becoming self-centered, egocentric, driven for success and achievement in the workplace, greedy and acquisitive. Those are some of the words of the 19th century. And even turning work into an idol. I thought it was interesting how many times I saw that word used many times in the literature of the day, that instead of finding their main identity and loyalty with their church and with their family, men were starting to get their identity from their work. Okay. So that was actually something very new. It hadn't been that way before.
And also the wife and the children are now only getting to know their tired father. They're got no more words left, father. Let me just lay down, father. I handled 84 problems at work. Please don't ask me to handle a problem at home. Yeah. So that's what, when they got separated, of course, the writing on the wall would be also that the kids didn't have the masculine figure in the home for they get it for 3 hours with the tired dad instead of the 15 hours of the working with the family dad, and how he handles relationships, how he handles hard things, how he handles decisions, how he handles the mailman, all of these little pieces that you're learning as a child, gone from a male figure.
Yeah, there were several books written at the time about how boys were changing. Girls still had their mother in the home, so they at least had a day in, day out model of what it meant to be a woman. But boys no longer had a day in, day out model of what it meant to be a man. And so historians say, this was boys' first identity crisis. They no longer knew what they were supposed to be doing.
Oh, boy.
And even the major psychologist of the day put it this way: never before in American history has the American boy been so wild and so undisciplined, because the only people there to discipline him are, women. His mothers. Now there were mostly female teachers. Sunday school was women. And so boys were growing up without very much masculine influence in their lives. And commentators at the time remarked on that boys' behavior was growing worse. And when they grew up, these boys, they called them the wild boys. They brought that behavior with them. So the 19th century saw a huge increase of drinking, gambling, crime, prostitution, gang violence. Yeah. All of that grew dramatically in the 19th century, partly because these boys were coming from the farm into the city to find work. So again, they were losing any sort of sense of accountability, because there was nobody around, the family, village, church. And so this 19th century is known for being the century when our social problems ballooned. And today people will say, well, that's just the masculine character. They're just more naturally prone to sin and vice and lust. No, it was the product of the first generation growing up without fathers.
Wow.
That was the real cause.